guess what? These thoughts are going to come into their mind. They ain't going to they ain't going to resist, but they're going to subject themselves to these thoughts. They're going to go with it. They're going to go with these sins that's going to plague them. Read that.
The book of Mark, chapter 7, verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts.
So, God being the creator, he gave us the blueprint on everything pertaining to this book, even including the thoughts of what's conjured up in our mind. So out of the heart of men, out of our mind, it proceed evil thoughts. That's going to happen all the time. For some reason, why did you just think of that evil thought of wanting to steal from a brother? Why did you think about fornications? Why did you think about adultery? Why are these spirits coming into your mind? It's because these are the things that we're going to be plagued with. Check. Shalom Israel. Most High in Christ bless you all. I'm Officer Bankanaya here from IUIC Houston, and I got with my reader to my right.
Soldier Ezekiel.
All praise to the Most High, and I got the fellow prophets of IT here. We finna try to get it in today, so appreciate everybody for their patience. With no further ado, we'll get started into the class. So today's topic is going to be a brief class into the thoughts of the wicked, into the thoughts or the minds of the wicked. Before we get started with the actual precepts, let's go to Mark chapter 7, verse 21, because I want to bring something out. So as we go through our course of coming back into the holy commandments of God, we start to comprehend things about ourselves that we're going to be plagued with, as well as everybody else. Everybody's going to be plagued with the same thoughts of what we're going to be plagued with. But then there's going to be a separation as we deal with these thoughts. Some people, they're going to have these thoughts enter into their mind, and guess what they're going to do? They're going to fight it. They're going to resist it. They're going to fast and pray and do whatever it takes to be able to overcome, not a succumbing to these thoughts, but suppressing them. But then you're going to have another class of individuals where, because they don't believe, because they ain't moving in the spirit of this Bible, because they don't have hope in these scriptures, guess what? These thoughts are going to come into their mind. They ain't going to resist, but they're going to subject themselves to these thoughts. They're going to go with it. They're going to go with these sins that's going to plague them. Read that.
The book of Mark, chapter 7, verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts.
So God being the creator, he gave us the blueprint on everything pertaining to this book, even including the thoughts of what's conjured up in our mind. So out of the heart of men, out of our mind, it proceed evil thoughts. That's going to happen all the time. For some reason, why did you just think of that evil thought of wanting to steal from a brother? Why did you think about fornications? Why did you think about adultery? Why are these spirits coming into your mind? It's because these are the things that we're going to be plagued with. Right? Read.
Adulteries.
Adultery, we're going to be plagued with that thought. Read.
Fornications. Murders.
Murders, we're going to be plagued with the thought of being a murderer. Not only is a murderer literally killing someone, but a murderer is hating your brother. And guess what? If you could do it, you would do it. It's just the fact that we know sometimes we can't get away with certain things. So because of that, that's the only reason why we don't commit that act. But understand, that's a thought that plagues people. Read.
Thefts.
Read.
Covetousness.
Coveting a neighbor, anything. Their house, their car, their wife, whatever it is, their job, their position in rank, whatever it could be. Some people battle with that covetous spirit. Read.
Wickedness. Deceit. Lasciviousness.
Some people got a deceitful spirit, meaning they might seem a certain way on how they move and are dealing with you, but then in their mind, there's something completely different going on up there. Some people, they battle with it to where they overcoming that battle. They're not allowing for that deceitful spirit to be manifest in them. And then some people, they just moving in a deceitful spirit. They come into the congregation, and you might think that's legitimately who they are, and nah, they just faking the funk. That can only happen for so long. You can only be fake for so long in its truth. Because when it comes to the commandments of God, if you're not a believer, you're gonna break eventually. Read.
Lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man.
So all these things, it come from within our mind, and that's what could defile a man if they participate or if they allow for those thoughts to be made manifest in the action. That's why you have to be mindful. We have to study these scriptures day and night, and we have to be able to meditate on our spirit, see how our thoughts, see what runs in our thoughts. You got to be able to understand the difference between an evil influence thought that's given to you by Satan and understand a godly thought. Not every thought that's given in your mind is something that you personally are thinking of. That's sometimes Satan putting these thoughts into your mind for you to think the way you think. And you start to look at a brother a certain way just because of a thought and because of an action that just happened. So you got to be able to check yourself. Learn not to listen to everything that happens up here. This mind is a sick mind. We've been broken in captivity, and we don't comprehend how strong that this mind is with all the different thoughts and what creeps inside of it. That's why we have to be mindful, study the scriptures, and learn not to just trust everything that's going on up there. So now, let's get into the class. Go to Hebrews chapter 10, verse 28. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 28. So what we're going to start to do is we're going to dive into the thoughts of the wicked, meaning that you're going to have individuals, all of us deal with the same thoughts of what we just read in Mark chapter 7, verse 21. But then for those that don't mortify these thoughts, they're going to be dealing with it. And guess what? They're going to end up coming inside the body. Just like during the time of Rome, the apostles, they had to deal with these men. Just like during the Paul, he had to deal with them. Those same spirits, they're going to be on the earth in these last days. They're going to be coming in our congregations and so forth. Guess what? When you start to exercise these scriptures, you're going to start to separate yourself from them because you're going to realize these individuals' true intent or their true nature. They ain't repented yet. Not everybody's repented yet. Read.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 28. He that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses.
So it says, he that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. What is he talking about? Let's get some understanding behind that for those who might not know. Deuteronomy 17, verse 2. So under Moses' law, those that despised it, they died without mercy when there was 2 or 3 witnesses. There was 2 or 3 witnesses. If you despise Moses' law, meaning what? You transgressed those things that was under the laws of Moses, you died under 2 or 3 witnesses. Read.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17, verse 2. If there be found among you within any of thy gates which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman, that hath wrought wickedness in the sight of the Lord thy God in transgressing his covenant.
And what?
In transgressing his covenant. He hath gone and served other gods and worshipped them, either the sun or the moon, or any of the host of heaven, which I have not commanded.
So what is that going into? That's talking about idolatry. Have no other God before the one true living God. There's going to be some individuals that they're going to put the sun, the moon. They're going to put reverence into that. That's what they're going to believe their God is. Read.
And it be told thee.
And you figure this out. You find out. Read.
And thou hast heard of it. And inquired diligently. And behold, it be true. And the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought in Israel.
That certain abomination was worked in Israel, that some individuals worship these false gods. Read.
Then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman, which hath committed that wicked thing unto thy gates. Even that man or that woman, thou shalt stone them with stones.
Thou shalt what?
Thou shalt stone them with stones.
Read.
Till they die.
Until they die. So it says, he that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. Read on.
Verse 6, at the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death.
Read.
But the mouth of 1 witness he shall not be put to death.
Go back to Hebrews 10:28. So now we got to understand it. Read.
Hebrews chapter 10, verse 28. He that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses.
Right. So whenever there was a particular sin that was worthy of death, like adultery, idolatry, so forth, so on, these different sins, they was worthy of death. That was under Moses, you would die, but it had to be under 2 or 3 witnesses. Read.
Verse 29. Of how much sorer punishment.
How much what?
Sorer punishment.
So from what we just read dealing with under Moses' law, now we're dealing with Christ. Of how much sore punishment, read?
Shall he be thought worthy who hath trodden underfoot the Son of God,
So how much more of a sore punishment, suppose ye, shall he be thought worthy who had trodden underfoot the Son of God? Read.
and hath counted the blood of the covenant, wherewith he was sanctified,
Sanctified under Christ, read.
an unholy thing,
Uh-huh.
and hath done despite unto the Spirit of grace.
Right, just like how they despised Moses now under the liberty that we got under Christ to where we are trying to get right. You're going to have some individuals where they're not going to give occasion to that opportunity, but they still going to remain in their sin even with the acknowledgement of Christ. Even comprehending Christ and us being able to return back and get ourselves together before that great day of judgment come, some people, they still going to despise this thing. Read.
Verse 30. For we
Matter of
know,
fact, go to Matthew 10:28. Just to elaborate on how much of a sore punishment suppose ye. Matthew 10:28.
the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 28. Fear not them which kill the body.
So the Lord is saying, don't fear them that kill the body. At that point in time, who is he talking about? Not only the scribes and the scribes, Sadducees, and Pharisees, but also too, even Rome. Don't fear them that kill the body. Read.
But are not able to kill the soul.
Because they can't touch your spirit. Read.
But rather fear him, which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell.
So when it says how much of a sore punishment, that's what Christ is referring to. This is what Paul is referring to. How much of a sore punishment? Because on that day of judgment, those that was found in the midst of their transgressions, that didn't take occasion to the opportunity of get right under grace, guess what? There's going to be a sore punishment for them than what happened under Moses' law. They spirit going to be judged. Just like what Bishop brought out this past Sabbath, dealing with damnation, dealing with hell. That's what they're going to deal with. Where your worm will not die, but it's going to be tormented day and night. That's what we're supposed to have fear towards. That's what makes a believer believe, because they're afraid of the consequences as they read this book. They understand that what's written here, this is truly going to happen. So because of that, they move different than those that wouldn't comprehend that. They have fear to where even when no man is watching and looking, guess what? They trying to deal with the inner man. They trying to mortify their sins. They trying to do whatever it takes to get right and serve God. They putting forth works and doing whatever it takes. That's a believer right there. But they only believe that way because they truly understand judgment that's going to happen with this book, as well as all of the rewards that's going to take place when it comes to us being able to endure to get to that kingdom. Go back to Hebrews 10.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse
30.
30.
Mm-hmm.
For we know him that hath said, vengeance belongeth unto me. I will recompense, saith the Lord. And again, the Lord shall judge his people.
Right. So the Lord is going to bring vengeance, and he's going to recompense, said the Lord, and also, too, he's going to judge his people. Read.
It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. But call to remembrance the former days in which, after you were illuminated, ye endured a great fight of afflictions.
So what is Paul going into? He's talking to the Hebrews at that particular time, which was the leaders of the people, and he's letting them know, call to remembrance that before you understood the acknowledgement of Christ, you was living a good life. There wasn't no trials, no tribulations happening to you. But then now that you start to believe in Christ, all of a sudden you got people that's coming for your life. You got people that's threatening you, whether it's Rome or whether it's the leaders of the people at that time, like the Pharisees and the scribes. Read.
Verse 33, partly, whilst ye were made a gazing stock, both by reproaches
You
and
became a gazing stock both by reproaches, men hating you, read.
afflictions,
Men starting to show affliction towards you, read on.
and partly, whilst ye became companions of them that were so used. For ye had compassion of me in my bonds, and took joyfully the spoiling of your goods.
Hey, so a true believer, the reason why they took joyfully the spoiling of his goods, because they starting to realize that, man, what Christ went through, we're partaking in the same thing. We're drinking some of that cup that he was referring to. This is helping to signify that, guess what? We're doing the right thing and we're getting persecuted for it. There's going to be a better reward at the end. There's going to be a reward at the end of this thing. Read on.
Knowing in yourselves that ye have in heaven a better and an enduring substance.
Read.
Cast not away, therefore, your confidence.
So because of that, as we go through these trials, these perils that are said to happen back then in Rome, even in America today, as the leaders, the Lord is putting a spirit on the bishops and the deacons to come out with these classes to give a full warning of what's to happen. And this is something that we're going to have to deal with eventually when it comes to Jacob's trouble. But all of this, don't lose your confidence, but understand that these things must take place. Read.
Cast not away therefore your confidence, which hath great recompense of reward.
Read.
For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of God, ye might receive the promise. For yet a little while, and he that shall come will come.
Yet a little while, he that will come shall come. Read.
And will not tarry.
And it won't be long. So Christ is eventually about to come. Read on.
Now the just shall live by faith.
And those that are just, they're going to live by faith, meaning they're going to open up this book and they're going to believe everything they're reading about it. The just is going to live by that faith. Read.
But if any man draw back.
If any man what?
Draw back.
Read.
My soul shall have no pleasure in him.
So what does that mean? If any man draw back, his soul will have no pleasure in him. Meaning they came into this thing, they started to deal with the perils of trials and tribulations, dealing with offenses, handling things according to the scriptures, but then they drew back, meaning they went right back into the world. They started to participate in those same sins that at one point in time they was mortifying. Thoughts that was coming into their mind that they were subduing at one point in time, they stopped. They stopped putting up that spiritual defense, that spiritual guard to keep their spirit safe, and they started to entertain sin again. They stopped letting these thoughts, or they started to allow for these thoughts to start to be made manifest now. And you're going to see some signs of it even in individuals inside the sanctuary. Those that will have fringes on and believe because of an offense that happened, all of a sudden they stop believing, or because of persecution or trials that the Lord put them through, and now they confounded on why they're going through these trials in their personal life. They start not to believe in this gospel anymore. They can't deal with those trials that's set before them. Because why? Their foundation wasn't built on Christ. Their faith wasn't in these scriptures to comprehend that they must go through these things. Read.
Verse 39. But we are not of them who draw back unto perdition.
But we are not of them that draw back unto perdition. Perdition means damnation. Read.
But of them that believe to the saving of the soul.
So, but to them that believe to the saving of souls, we all believe to what we want to have our soul saved. That's why we move the way we move. So now go to go to 2 Thessalonians. So now, dealing with the adversities that's set before us, there's two classifications of adversities. Well, really you could say three. One is going to be dealing with ourselves. The battle is here. But then there's going to be adversaries in the flesh that we're going to have to deal with. That's going to be, of course, those that are of Esau, right? We're going to be adverse against them. Satan minions, he's going to utilize them to be able to deal with us a certain way. Satan is going to let them loose on us, as well as even of our people, you're going to have the wicked. So first I want to clarify dealing with Esau. Read that, 2 Thessalonians 2:1.
The book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 1. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by the gathering unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as the day of Christ is at hand.
Right. Don't be shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by spirit nor by letter. Because why? Paul was always warning the different churches that there's going to be perils to take place. And also too, there's going to be individuals that's going to come in. They're going to pretend like they believe, so forth and so on, just to be a seducing spirit and to be able to take people away from this gospel. So don't be shaken, but understand that the day of Christ is at hand. But then watch this, read.
Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come.
So that day of Christ, it won't come except what?
Except there be a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
Right. So it says, except there shall be a falling away first. They're falling away. It happened. The curses in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 through 68 became in full effect dealing with us as the children of Israel, to where we lost our identity. We didn't know that we was Israelites anymore. We didn't understand the true God that we're supposed to serve. That great falling away happened. And now all glory to the Heavenly Father, that now we're returning back into the faith. Now we're starting to realize who we are. And now it's getting to that point where that man of sin is being revealed. Who is that talking about? That's talking about Esau. Read on.
Who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God.
He opposed and exalted himself above all that is called God. Read.
or that is worshipped,
Uh-huh.
so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God.
Right. What is that going into? Not only the imagery of what God looked like, what his people looked like, they took that and they made those images look like them. They made God look like them with long, stringy hair, blue eyes. That's them exalting, making themselves look as like God. And sitting in the temple of God, they took Jerusalem. They made that their homeland. These are all the things that to where it signifies and identifies that is referring to those people that's in our land right now. The ones who images who oppose make themselves look like God. They the ones calling themselves Christians. When they brought us over here on slave ships, they indoctrinated us with their comprehension of the precepts to make themselves look like they the ones of the people. Servants, obey your master. They utilize the scriptures wrong just to be able to try to keep us in subjection as they make themselves look like they the people of God. So read that part again.
Verse 4, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God.
Read verse 7.
Verse 7, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work.
So that's how you know, or to confirm that that's talking about Esau, because Rome, they was already at that point in time working. The mystery of iniquity already did work. Paul just had to say it a certain way because he's writing a letter to the church of Thessalonians, and the Romans, they had the power to open up these letters and read them. And it could have been easily persecution when you oppose against Rome, treason against Rome. So he worded it that particular way to where it wouldn't come back as fault for him. Read.
Only he who now letteth will let.
Right, because God allowed for them to be in the position. Read.
Until he be taken out of the way.
Right, so now that's dealing with Esau. Esau is the wicked. But then also, too, guess what? We're about to read in John chapter 8 where our people also, too, they fall into that same category. Let's read that. John chapter 8, start at verse 31.
The book of John, chapter 8, verse 31. Then said Jesus to those Jews which believed on him, if ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
So Christ is referring to his disciples saying, you should know the truth, and the truth is going to make you free. Read.
They answered him, we be Abraham's seed.
So you're going to have some of our people that was there, the Pharisees and the scribes, they responded back to him and said, we be Abraham's seed. Read.
And were never in bondage to any man. How sayest thou, ye shall be made free?
So they didn't comprehend what Christ was saying. They said, how are we going to be made free? You say the truth shall make you free, but then we are already free. We of Abraham's seed. Read.
Jesus answered them, verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin.
When someone commits sin, they are the servant of it. Read.
And the servant abideth not in the house forever.
And what he's saying is a servant, they're not going to be living forever. It's going to get to that point of judgment day to where, guess what? They're going to have to face the repercussions for that sinful life that they never repented from. Read.
But the Son abideth forever.
The Son, he lived forever, eternal, meaning that when you do those things that are of God, you're the Son of God, guess what? You're going to be made to abide forever. As Christ is, so are we. Read.
If the Son therefore make you free, ye shall be free indeed. I know that ye are Abraham's seed, but ye seek to kill me.
So you Abraham's seed, but you seek to kill me. Read.
Because my word hath no place in you. I speak that which I have seen of with my father, and ye do that which ye have seen with your father.
You do what you do of your father, and I do what I do of my father. Read.
They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Jesus said unto them, If ye were Abraham's children, ye would do the works of Abraham. But now ye seek to kill me, a man that have told you the truth, which I have heard of God. This did not Abraham.
Abraham didn't do that. Read. Abraham didn't seek when truth was revealed. He didn't oppose God. Read.
Ye do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, We be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even God. Jesus said unto them, If God were your father, ye would love me, for I proceeded forth from and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do ye not understand my speech? Even because ye cannot hear my word. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there was no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it.
So who's that talking about? It says, ye are of of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye would do. He was a murderer from the beginning. So he's referring to them being descendants of Cain, of that wicked one. And the way that Cain moved and operated, his conscience wasn't towards God. He was to benefit his mind. And an occasion to where he did wrong, he was a murderer. Guess what? He even lied to God about it. Am I my brother's keeper? I don't know where he at. Guess what? Christ said that ye are of your father the devil, meaning that they moving in the same spirit that Cain was moving in. That happened at that time. Those same people, they on this earth today. Let's get it. Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9. So when the apostles was moving on this earth, when Christ was moving on this earth during the time of Rome, there was individuals who moved in a certain way where they was moving like they was God people, and that's what they proclaimed to. But then by their actions, it showed contrary. They never purged those sins that they was dealing with, but they continued to entertain it. These were evil spirits. So now watch this, read.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 9. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun.
So whatever happened in times past, it's going to happen again. The same way how you had during the time of Rome, you had people who stood up for this Bible, and contrary to any persecution that came their way, they stood firm in the faith of Christ. That's going to happen in these last days as well. But then also, too, the contrary wise, you're going to have those individuals who's going to resist and fight against the people of God, whether it be of Esau, like the Herodians at that point in time, or whether it be our own people. We're going to have a resistance. And guess what? They're going to be amongst us. They're going to pretend like they are here for the right reasons, but inside they have a whole nother MO. They have a whole nother mission in their spirit. They're not here with the intent to serve God. And that's what we're about to read about, Romans 15 and 4. That's why as we read these scriptures, the more we read about it, the more our minds will be prepared for what's at hand and to know how to navigate and move on this earth. But the main thing that we must make sure we're doing is as we read these scriptures, truly show that fear towards God and keeping and applying everything that's written here. That's going to help you survive. If you want to know how to survive in this truth, just keep the commandments of God. God ain't going to allow for judgment to happen to you to where you're going to fall away when you're striving to keep the commandments. You're going to be one of the ones that was protected. When you read scriptures about like Numbers 16, how Korah and Dathan, they went off and they caused people to start to turn against Moses. Guess what? When they received death, when the earth opened up and swallowed those that was killed, the ones that was killed when the earth was swallowed up was everybody that transgressed or went against God and Moses. Whenever David, when he committed sin by counting the number of Israel, and God got mad with David and he brought judgment and he killed 60,000, those 60,000 that was killed was those that was always transgressing against God. That was the way that God dealt with the people back then. God looked for any reason to bring judgment. Just like when Gideon stole the Babylonian, not Gideon, what's his name? Achan, who stole the Babylonian garment, and God started to bring judgment on Israel, and Israel started to die in war. The ones that died in war was the ones that was committing sin. God just used an occasion to cause those that was going away from him or astray from him to receive death for the penalties of their sin. God ain't never changed on how he moved. That's going to be the same thing that's going to happen in these last days. Those that you see falling off when an uproar happens, like when 2018 took place, and you had a lot of individuals who started to go towards individuals who was creating an uproar from many different leaders at one point in time in the congregation who left. And all the individuals in their mind who listened to these people and left the congregation, guess what? Those men ain't leaders no more. They ain't guiding the sheep no more. They doing their own smoking weed, twerking and whatnot. These are grown men who are moving in a way that's unseemly now. What happened to those people that left outside the body? Guess what? They right back into the world. They went right back to their sins. That's why the scriptures is giving us warning on what all transpired and took place before so we can comprehend and we can learn from that. So how God brought judgment back then, he's going to do it the same way now. So long as you stay away from sin, everything going to be all right. That's a guarantee without a shadow of a doubt. Whenever you're just before God, God is going to make sure that he's going to have a path for you where you're going to be protected and where you won't fall susceptible to the judgment that those that don't believe going to fall susceptible to. So I hope y'all understood that. Read that.
The book of Romans, chapter 15, verse 4. And whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
So everything that we read about in this book is written for us to learn from. That way we may know how to serve God. We're not confused, and that we may navigate according to this holy book and have a mind to endure unto the end, expecting these things to come, expecting what happened in the past to happen again.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today. Shalom.
So now let's go to Luke chapter 12, verse 1. So now dealing with Christ, one thing I want to be able to highlight is Christ gave the acknowledgement of the thoughts of wicked people. Things that we necessarily can't comprehend now, Christ dealt with it, and through the scriptures, we get the revelation on how evil men think. And because of that, we see the fruits of certain men back then on how they operated to where it's going to be the same thing that's going to happen now in these last days. Read that.
The book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 1. In the meantime, when there were gathered together an innumerable multitude of people.
So there was a huge number of people that came forth before Christ. Read.
And so much that they trod one upon another.
They was stepping on each other's feet, so forth and so on, all trying to come in this huge crowd. Read.
He began to say unto his disciples, first of all, beware ye of the leaven of the Pharisees.
Do what?
Beware ye of the leaven of the Pharisees.
So Christ is saying to his disciples to beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. What is the leaven of the Pharisees that we all need to be aware of? Read.
Which is hypocrisy.
Which is what?
Which is hypocrisy.
So the leaven of the Pharisees that we all have to be mindful of is hypocrisy. Keep that word in mind. Read on.
For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed.
So there is nothing that is covered that won't be revealed. Watch this, read.
Neither hid that shall not be made known. Be known.
Yep.
Therefore, whatsoever ye have spoken in darkness shall be heard in the light.
Whatever was spoken in darkness is going to be heard in the light. Read.
And that which ye have spoken in the ear in closets shall be proclaimed upon the housetops.
Read.
And I say unto you, my friends, be not afraid of them which kill the body, and after hath no more that they can do. But I will forewarn you, but I will forewarn you whom ye shall fear. Fear him, which after he hath killed hath power to cast into hell. Yea, I say unto you, fear him.
So what is Christ saying? He's saying the things that you've heard in secret, take those things and publish it openly. Christ dealt with the disciples, the apostles, and he gave them a lot of understanding pertaining to the scriptures, but it was private conversations to where he was dealing with them, building them up in the faith. And as he was building them up, he said, the things that you've heard in secret, publish these things openly. Speak about those that are wicked. Speak about Rome. Speak about the Pharisees and Sadducees and judgment to follow when those that do contrary to God's word. Speak about these things openly. Teach repentance. Make sure the people understand this book. And then guess what? It's going to get to that point in time where eventually you're going to be persecuted for this. And that's what happened to the apostles, whether it was of our own people or whether it was of those that was at that point in time of power like Rome. They ended up losing their life behind this. But then Christ confirmed them to say, look, don't worry or don't fear those that kill a body, but can't kill a spirit. Because Christ has the spirit to put those, to take that spirit and to cast it into hell to where it's going to be an internal burning. But outside of that, read verse 1 again.
Luke chapter 12, verse 1. In the meantime, when there was gathered together a great an innumerable multitude of people, and so much that they trod one upon another, he began to say unto his disciples, first of all, beware ye of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy.
Which is what?
Which is hypocrisy.
So the leaven of the Pharisees, that was hypocrisy. Read Matthew 16 and 12. Saying the same thing. Actually, start at verse 6. Yeah.
The book of Matthew, chapter 16, verse 6. Then Jesus said unto them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees.
So it wasn't just the Pharisees, it was also to the Sadducees. Be mindful of these individuals. Jump to verse 12.
Verse 12.
Verse 11.
Verse 11. How is it that ye do not understand that I spake not unto you concerning bread, that ye should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees? Then understood they how that he bade them not to beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees.
Because the way that the scribes and the Pharisees was moving, it was moving in hypocrisy. So, hey, IT, do me a favor, pull up that definition of hypocrisy. Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, which is hypocrisy. So now watch this. Let's read that.
Hypocrisies, a feigning to be what one is not, or to believe what one does not.
A feigning to be what one is not. To be what one is not. You know what that means? That that person's faking. They're portraying to be somebody that they truly aren't. Read.
Behavior that contradicts what one claims to believe or feel.
Right. So there's two forms of hypocrisy. When one is portraying to be someone that they're not, and then another form of hypocrisy is when one is doing something or telling others to do something that they themselves don't believe in. So now let's get that in the scriptures. Appreciate that, IT. Go to Matthew chapter 23, verse 1. This is one form of hypocrisy.
The book of Matthew, chapter 23, verse 1. Then spake Jesus to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat.
So the scribes and the Pharisees, they sit in Moses' seats, meaning that they were the judges at that time. They was the ones to deal with judgment of the people's lives. Read.
All therefore whatsoever they bid you, observe, that observe and do.
So the things that they tell you to do, observe it and do it. Why? Because they quote the scriptures, they reading things pertaining to God's gospel, God's words. Read.
But do not ye after their works.
But then how they moving, don't do what they do. Why? Read.
For they say and do not.
Uh-huh.
For they bind away.
Okay, that's it. That's it. So when it says for they say and they do not, that's one form of hypocrisy. They tell you something to do, but they themselves wouldn't do it. Matter of fact, keep going.
Verse 4. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and they lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
Right. So they would bind heavy burdens upon the people, but then they themselves, they wouldn't do it. They was moving in the spirit of hypocrisy. That's one form of aspect of Christ saying, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, because of how they was moving. But then watch this. This is the other aspect of it, and this is what I want to deal with. Go to Matthew chapter 22, verse 15.
The book of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 15. Then went the Pharisees and took counsel how they might entangle him in his talk.
So the Pharisees at this point in time, because they saw the popularity of Christ and they wanted to stop him, because why? He was starting to take away the people away from them. So because of that animal sacrifice, dealing with how the people was trying to repent, that slowly started to stop. Because why? He always gave warning to beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. He told it to all his disciples, not just the apostles. So then now the Pharisees, they started to see like, dang, the people ain't coming under us no more like they used to. This man is taking away our people. And because of that, they was profiting off of the people by animal sacrifice. They was giving reverence behind the people. They was in high status because they profited off of the people. Because why? They wasn't shepherds to guide the people and to lead the people and to help the people get right with God, but they was more so those wolves that only wanted to get gain out of the people. They was feeding their own bellies. So now they all come together with the intent to counsel. Read it again.
Verse 15. Then went the Pharisees and took counsel how they might entangle him in his talk.
So they took counsel how they may entangle Christ through his talk, through the words that he said. They wanted to be able to find fault in him so that they can bring judgment on him. Read.
And they sent out unto him their disciples with the Herodians.
With who?
With the Herodians.
So these Pharisees, they counseled together and they got students of theirs with Herodians, which is the Amaleks today. Read.
saying, Master, we know that thou art true, and teachest the way of God in truth. Neither carest thou for any man, for thou regardest not the person of men.
So now watch this. Remember, the goal is to entangle Christ in his speech. So they send their disciples with the Herodians to find a way to entangle him in his speech. But then look how they perceive themselves. They say,
You want me to read?
yeah, read it again.
Master,
Oh, I got it. Master, we know that thou art true and teachest the way of God in truth. Neither carest thou for any man, for thou regardest not the person of poor. These are individuals, this is how they start their speech off as they're trying to find ways to be able to entangle Christ in his words. Hold that and go to Luke 20 and 20. Luke 20 and 20. We're going to get Luke's account of it.
the book of Luke, chapter 20, verse 20. And they watched him and sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just men.
So this is going into the exact same account. They was watching Christ and they sent forth spies. Who are those spies? We just read it in Matthew 22 and 16. It's their disciples. Read.
That they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him unto the power and the authority of the governor.
So the reason why they wanted to entangle him and the reason why the Herodians, which is Esau, was with them is that they might deliver him into the power and authority of the governor by finding something in his words to condemn him or to convict him, treason or opposing against Rome. So now go back to Matthew 22 and 17.
Matthew chapter 22, verse 17. Tell us therefore, what thinkest thou? Is it lawful to give tribute unto Caesar or not?
Is it lawful to give tribute unto Caesar or not? This is how they're trying to get him to be entangled in his words. They want him to respond in a way of going against Rome. Read.
But Jesus perceived their wickedness.
He did what?
He perceived their wickedness and said, why tempt ye me, ye hypocrites?
Why tempt ye me, ye what?
Ye hypocrites.
So Christ is calling them a hypocrite because why? They came to him under false pretense, off a false pretense, making themselves seem a certain way as if they come in to give reverence to him, to just be able to learn from him, so forth and so on, only with the intent to be able to try to find fault to condemn him. Guess what? You're going to have people that's going to be in the congregation, they're going to move the exact same way. They'll smile in your face. They make it look like they here with the intent to be on the same level of reverencing and serving God like you, but now in reality, they just trying to find fault with you because that inner man or that inner woman, they haven't truly overcome and dealt with. They dealing with a covetous spirit. They want to be in your position. They want to be able to, whatever gain to their benefit, they don't care how they get to it, and they're willing to destroy individuals in order to be able to get to it. They might not like the leaders of the congregation, but then guess what they do? They smile before the leaders. They say, Shalom, Most High, and Christ bless, and make it be perceived that everything is good when it comes to their reverence towards their leaders in a healthy manner, but in reality, they don't want you in your position. They don't want to see you there. They want either they want to be there, or if it's a woman, she might want her husband to be there, so forth and so on. And you're gonna see how they move. It's gonna be made manifest that this is their true intent. Not everybody coming here sincere. Get Romans chapter 12 and 9. Romans chapter 12, verse 9.
The book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 9. Let love be without dissimulation.
Let what?
Let love be without dissimulation.
Let love be without dissimulation. Hey, look that up. Let love be without dissimulation. What does that mean? Love without dissimulation. All right, so it says concealment of one's thoughts, feelings, or character, pretense. Paul is letting the people know, don't be fake before your people. Come with true intentions. If there's things that you might not like or agree with, understand that God is in control of everything, and you just got to submit yourself before it. Remember, that's what happened during the time of Moses. Individuals didn't want to see Moses in this position, so then they came in the pretense of being able to steer and move the people a certain way just to benefit them, so that they could take Moses out of the way, so they could take Aaron out of the way, so forth and so on. That's the same thing also, too, that happened. I just had it in my mind. Oh, yeah. Absalom with King David. Under King David, you had Absalom, his son, who before the people, he was, matter of fact, let's see if we can find that one. Hey, somebody help me find that one real quick. Yeah. You got the other precept? All right. Pull up that definition again. All right, it says concealment of one's thoughts, feelings, or character, pretense. All right, go to 2 Samuel chapter 15. Yeah.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 12, verse 15.
Let me see. Let me make sure that's it. That may not be it. Hold on. Oh, no, 2 Samuel 15 and 5. My bad. 15 and 5.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 15,
Start at verse 1.
Verse 1.
Uh-huh.
And it came to pass after this, that Absalom prepared him chariots and horses, and 50 men to run before him.
Uh-huh.
And Absalom rose up early and stood beside the way of the gate. And it was so that when any man that had a controversy came to
the gates, when you read Deuteronomy 1 and 15 and 16, that's where the leaders of the people will be at. They will be at the gates. So whenever a particular, issue would happen between two neighbors, or a person come because he want to bring forth, an issue and have it dealt with, they would come before the gates to deal with the leaders of the people. So Absalom, which is David's son, he would stay at the gates just to be able to be the first to have the preeminence to hear controversies that will happen dealing with the people. Read.
And it was so that when any man had a controversy, came to the king for judgment, then Absalom called unto him and said, of what city art thou?
So they come to the king for judgment. They come to the king to deal with the issue. Who was that king at the time? David. So Absalom would get there, and he would be at the gates, and as the people would come looking for the king to deal with the matter, he would take the preeminence of being there first and be like, hey, just what city are you from? I'll help you out. Come to me. Read.
And he said, thy servant is of one of the tribes of Israel.
Uh-huh.
And Absalom said unto him, see, thy matters are good and right, but there is no man deputed of the king to hear thee.
Uh-huh.
And Absalom said, moreover, oh, that I were made judge in the land.
Oh, that I were made judge in thy land. Read.
That every man which hath any suit or any cause might come unto me, and I would do him justice.
So now he's saying, oh, that every man would be able to, Absalom, hold on, let me read it again. And Absalom said, moreover, oh, that I were made judge in the land, that every man which had any suit or cause might come unto me, and I would do him justice. So what was he trying to do? He was trying to portray to the people that if I was made judge in this land, I'll resolve everybody's conflict. Everybody be resolved of issues that will be happening pertaining to what's going on. I'll make sure justice is enforced. Read.
Verse 5, and it was so that when any man came nigh to him to do him obeisance, he put forth his hand and took him and kissed him.
He took forth their hand, took it, and kissed it. They come to give reverence, and he would give reverence to them because why? He was trying to win the hearts of the people. Read.
And on this manner did Absalom
on this manner because Absalom was doing this often, he would be at the gates, and as people would come with their controversies, he would stand to meet them before they can get to the king, for the king to deal with the matters, and he would try to win the minds of the people. And after this manner, read,
did Absalom to all Israel that came to the king for judgment. So Absalom stole the hearts of the men of Israel.
and Absalom stole the hearts of the many of Israel. And when you read later on, that became a huge conflict. Guess what? He was moving in a way of hypocrisy just to be able to win the people over, because he had an interior motive. He wanted to sit on the seat to be a judge. You're going to have brothers that's going to move like that. They ain't sincere. Go to the one that you found in Acts.
The book of Acts, chapter 23, verse 12.
Uh-huh.
And when it was day, certain of the Jews banded together and bound
Where you at
themselves.
again? Where you at again?
Acts chapter 23, verse 12.
Acts 23, verse 12. Okay, go ahead.
And when it was day, certain of the Jews banded together and bound themselves under a curse, saying that they would neither eat nor drink till they had killed Paul.
So now we got another example how individuals was moving. Of course, this was the Pharisees. They just like how they wanted Christ to be rid of. They didn't want him in that position. Now they dealing with Paul to the same magnitude. They vowed a fast that they wouldn't eat or drink anything till they killed Paul. That was the mind of the people. They wanted to get rid of Paul, and they wouldn't eat or drink until they accomplished the goal that they desired of getting Paul rid of. Read.
Verse 13. And there were more than 40 which had made this conspiracy.
And it was more than 40 individuals that all was like-minded to participate in this fast to get rid of Paul. This is the mind of the people. And what's heavy about that is we wouldn't have acknowledged that, because why? Did Paul die by them like that? No, Paul didn't get killed this way. Did Christ, when the Pharisees came to entangle him in his words, did they get rid of him at that point in time that way? No. Every time with Peter, he went to jail in Acts chapter 4. The other apostles, they got bound in Acts chapter 5. But then guess what? God always allowed for them to be delivered. But then the thing that you see about it is they moved in a way. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find that. Read that again.
Acts chapter 23, verse 12. And when it was day, certain of the Jews banded together and bound themselves under a curse, saying that they would neither eat nor drink till they had killed Paul. And there were more than 40 which had made this conspiracy. And they came to the chief priests and elders and said, we have bound ourselves under a great curse, that we will eat nothing until we have slain Paul. Now, therefore, ye with the council signify to the chief captain that he would bring him down unto you tomorrow, as though he would inquire something more perfectly concerning him. And we, or ever he come near, are ready to kill him.
Right, so they plotted on how they can be able to kill Paul as they go into this fast with the intentions of making sure that they complete the objective of getting rid of Paul. So then watch this. Go to Luke chapter 22, verse 1. Yeah, Acts 22 and 1.
The book of Acts, Luke, chapter 22, verse 1.
Yep.
Now the feast of unleavened bread draw nigh, which is called the Passover.
Read.
And the chief priests and the scribes sought how they might kill him.
They sought what?
How they might kill him.
So they sought how they may kill Christ. Read.
For they feared the people.
They what?
They feared the people.
So they did secret counsel with the intentions of getting rid of Christ, but they counseled on how they may do it in a way to where they won't get caught because they feared the people. Meaning, guess what? That's in their mind frame, but it was never made manifest to the people on that being their intentions. The only reason why we know that's because we read the scriptures and we see how these evil men thought. We see how these wicked men counseled and reasoned to deal with God's people unjustly. You don't think it's the same thing that's going to happen in these last days? You don't think that's what's going on right now? to where they perceive themselves to be a certain way, but internally there's things that's going on in their mind to where they could wish that they can kill a man and get away with it. You got brothers and sisters that come in the congregation, they wish that they can commit adultery with another man's wife and get away with it, but then the only reason why they don't do it is because they can't get away with it. But that's in their spirit, and they're not mortifying that thought. They're allowing that thought to fluster in their mind, and they hoping and they counseling and reasoning on ways where they can be able to accomplish that goal without getting rid of it. But then guess what? Some people would never fulfill that. Some people would never kill that prophet or that leader that they have hatred towards, even though that's in their mind and they agree with that thought. Some people would never get the ability to commit adultery with another man's wife, even though they agree with that thought and wish that if they could, they would get away with it, they would do it. But then they come inside the congregation with these thoughts that they never mortify. You don't think God gonna judge them for that? If they could do it, they would do it. So they're not mortifying, they're not stopping what's happening in his mind. So guess what? We're gonna get it later on, but you're gonna see how God is gonna catch up to them in that folly. So read verse 2 again.
Verse 2. And the chief priests and scribes sought how they might kill him, for they feared the people.
They what?
They feared the people. Then entered
Okay, that's it.
The scriptures say, where there is no vision, the people perish.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV.
Do you know your history?
I'm going to show you and prove to you that the Israelites are black, were always black.
Dance floor time, just move up your body. Don't get loose and groove on the body. Bruise, wine.
Put on the armor, the procedure complete. Me nah go back, nah retreat. All traitors, every Jezebel must get delete. Me no sleep on a demon, me keep a full clip. Conspire me downfall, cause them want see me slip. Stay close to the real ones, we seal off and legit. Cause I gotta use them to keep your soul from the pit. This a war life, I swear the damn thing.
Go to 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 10. I want to show y'all something. 1 Peter 1 and 10.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 1, verse 10. Of which salvation the prophets inquired and searched diligently.
So you had all the prophets in times past, they inquired and they searched diligently. What? Read.
Who prophesied of the grace that should come unto you.
So you had Ezekiel prophesied of the grace that was to come unto us. You had Jeremiah, you had Daniel, you had Isaiah, you had Micah. You had all the prophets in times past, Moses, that prophesied of the grace that will come, meaning Christ. They all prophesied of Christ coming on the scene. Read on.
Searching what? Or what manner of time the Spirit of Christ, which was in them, did signify.
So these different prophets, Micah, Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, they all had the Spirit of Christ that was upon them as they were signifying these things. Read.
When it testified beforehand the sufferings of Christ and the glory that should follow.
And the glory that should follow. Read.
Unto whom it was revealed that not unto themselves, but unto us they did minister the things.
So as these prophets during the times past would prophesy of the grace to come, talking about Christ, they were prophesied so that they can minister it unto us to let us know to where we may get right or we may look for that day and comprehend that this is the Messiah that was foretold to come. It was written, everybody at that point in time, in the time of Rome, they had the ability to be able to see the things in the scriptures pertaining to Christ, but then a lot of them, their heart was hardened because why? They was of sinful nature. They wasn't true. They wasn't servants of God. So God didn't reveal that mystery to them that this is the Messiah Christ that was foretold to come. Even though he was doing miracles, he was doing all these crazy miracles, and yet in their mind frame, they didn't see Christ as who he was. Their mind was blinded. Their eyes was blinded because of sin that they was involved with. And then guess what? They thought they was right in how they was thinking. Yet they was entertaining sin. If you entertaining sin, understand that your thoughts messed up. You're jacked up in your mind. Don't listen or don't agree with anything you say. It's best just to seek counsel of other men. I don't care if you think they right or wrong. Just understand that you wrong because you in the midst of sin. And God ain't going to allow you to reason right. So it's best to come and to learn from individuals to help you overcome the sickness of sin to where you can start to have a clear mind to reason right and not be jacked up to where Satan is just dancing all in your brain. Read on.
Unto whom it was revealed that not unto themselves, but unto us they did minister the things which are now reported unto you by them that have preached the gospel unto you with the Holy Ghost sent down from heaven, which things the angels desire to look into.
Right, those messengers desire to look unto. That the Spirit of Christ came upon these prophets to prophesy, and now they started to receive their report. Now, I'm saying that for a reason. I mentioned Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, all these individuals prophesied of the grace that was to come. And some of them, because the Spirit of Christ was on them, it would be certain things that these prophets would say that they themselves didn't fulfill that. It was just that Christ was in them, and Christ was saying, they were speaking in the Spirit of Christ of what Christ would deal with when he did come on the earth. So I'm going to clarify that. Let's read Psalms chapter 64, verse 1. So what we about to read about, you might think this is David talking about himself, but it wasn't David talking about himself. This is Christ that was speaking through David of what he would deal with when he came on the scene. Psalm 64, verse 1.
The book of Psalms, chapter 64, verse 1. Hear my voice, O God, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy.
Hear my voice, O God, in my prayer. Preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. Of fear of the enemy. Read.
Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked.
Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. Like I mentioned, this ain't David talking about himself. This is Christ speaking through David, talking about when Christ came on the scene, what he had to deal with. The secret counsels of those that was coming for his life. We just read a couple of them. Read on.
From the insurrection of the workers of iniquity.
What is the insurrection going into? The gathering. Just like how Paul, he had a gathering of people that came against him, 40 men who all banded together of a fast that they may kill Paul. And they wouldn't relieve themselves from that fast or that curse until they was able to do so. That's the insurrection of the wicked, of the workers of iniquity. The only reason why they was moving the way they was moving is because they were sinful people, and they thought they was reasoning right. Read on.
Who whet their tongue like a sword.
They take their tongue and they use it as a weapon, like a sword. What is a sword made to do? To kill somebody. Their tongue, they whet it like a sword to be able to get somebody killed. This is what they was doing against Christ. Read. They was talking about how he was speaking against Rome. They would say all these things to use their tongue like a sword to for the end result for Christ to lose his life behind the words that they say. That was the spirit of these individuals. Read on.
Who whet their tongues like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows. Even bitter words.
Even what?
Even bitter words.
Even bitter words. Read on.
That they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not.
Suddenly they shoot at him and they fear not. Now it get to the point where they start to do things where they just moving to where they ain't got fear for nobody. They ain't got fear for God. They just moving on one accord to get rid of this man's life. And that was through how they utilized their words to be able to persecute him, so forth and so on. Go to Psalms chapter 18, verse 4, to further explain how Christ was speaking through David. Read on.
The book of Psalms, chapter 18, verse 4. The sorrows of death compassed me.
The sorrows of death had compassed me. Read.
And the floods of ungodly men made me afraid.
What is this going into? This is that time period where Christ had to endure the perils of the cross. To where he didn't want to go through with it, and how he was reasoning in his mind. This is how he was reasoning. Man, I'm looking around. All these individuals want me to be put to death. Read.
The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me.
Read.
In my distress, I called upon the Lord.
In his distress, that's when Christ called upon the Lord. When you read in the scriptures where he says, let me see if I can find it. Is that it? Let's see, read it. So it says, in my I'm going to start at verse 5. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried unto my God. Is that it?
27
Read.
and 40.
Eli. Yep. Read.
The book of Matthew, chapter 27, verse 45.
So this is what Christ was talking about as he was speaking to David. When did he call upon the Lord and cried unto his God? Read.
Now from the 6th hour there was darkness
Uh-huh.
over all the land unto the 9th hour.
Read.
And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice,
Uh-huh.
saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?
Why hast thou forsaken me? This is Christ crying out as he had to deal with that trial. You can put that on the screen. Read on.
Some of them that stood there, when they had heard that, said, This man calleth for Elias. And straightway one of them ran and took a sponge.
So the reason why they said that some saying he called for Elias because Eli means father. Father, father. That's what he was saying. Why have thou forsaken me? And they thought he was calling Elias. Read.
And straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him drink.
Read.
The rest said, Let be, let us see whether Elias will come to save him.
Read on.
Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice.
He did what?
He cried again with a loud voice.
So watch this. Keep where you at. Psalms 18:6. No, keep where you at. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried unto my God. He heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him, even unto his ears. Read on.
Matthew 27, verse 50. Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost.
He did what?
Yielded up the ghost.
Read.
And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain.
Read.
From the top to the bottom.
Uh-huh.
And the earth did quake.
The earth what?
Did quake.
Read.
And the rocks rent.
Now watch this. Psalms 18:7. I'm continuing. Then I'm going to start at verse 6 again. He heard my voice out of the temple, and my cry came before him, even unto his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations also of the hills moved and were shaken because he was wroth. Who caused that earthquake to happen in Matthew 27? The Most High God did, because he heard his son cry. Read that again.
Verse 51.
Uh-huh.
And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom. And the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were opened.
Okay, that's it. So now that's just showing you how these all precepts correlate. So Psalms 18, what we just read, that was Christ speaking through David. Psalm 64, that was Christ speaking through David, understanding that he's going to have to deal with being around the perils of ungodly individuals who want his life. So now go to Psalms chapter 26, verse 4.
The book of Psalms, chapter 26, verse 4.
Read.
I have not sat with vain persons.
So this is Christ also too speaking here. Read.
Neither will I go in with dissemblers.
So Christ is saying, I have not sat with vain persons, neither will I go in with dissemblers. Look up that definition of dissemblers. Watch how all this correlates with each other. Read that.
Dissemblers, definition. Someone who hides their real feelings or intentions.
Someone who hides their real feelings or intentions. Read.
Or hides the true facts. His opponents put out television commercials portraying him as a dissembler.
Okay, that's it. But a dissembler is someone who hides their real feelings or intentions or hide the true facts. That's what Paul had to deal with, Christ had to deal with, the apostles had to deal with. And Christ is saying right here, I have not sat with vain persons, neither will I go in with dissemblers. That's hypocrites. Christ ain't never moved. Like when it came to understanding the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy, he wanted to make sure that it was acknowledged before all his disciples to be mindful. Don't be around these individuals. They all fake. They might look like they cool with you. They might look like they agree with everything that you're saying, but they got an interior motive to where they want your position or they just want to benefit from off of you. They only giving you that persona of themselves because it's a benefit for them and whatever they want to achieve. Go back to Psalms 26 and read verse 5.
The book of Psalms, chapter 26, verse 5. I have hated the congregation of evildoers, and will not sit with the wicked. I will wash my hands in innocency. So will I compass thine altar, O Lord.
So now go to Proverbs 11 and 9. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 9.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 9. An hypocrite with his mouth destroyeth his neighbor, but through knowledge shall the just be delivered.
Right. God is going to allow those that keep the commandments to be delivered. Because the wicked, their mind frame is to do what again?
An hypocrite with his mouth destroyeth his neighbor.
That's what a hypocrite would do. That's what a wicked man would do. They're going to utilize their mouth to destroy their neighbor because they have their own personal benefit behind it. But when you have knowledge of God, the Lord is going to make sure you be delivered from that situation. Go to 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. So as I stated, what happened back then, what happened during the time of Rome, that's also too going to happen here in America. That's why Paul, with his understanding of the scriptures, he expressed this right here. Read.
The book of 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith,
Read.
giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils.
So those that depart from the faith in the latter times, they're going to be doing it by giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. Because why? They themselves are not keeping the commandments. So then when things that come their way, they're going to hear it. And guess what? They're going to follow pursuit with it. And it's taking them away from the word of God because why? They in the midst of sin. Read.
Speaking lies in hypocrisy.
And they're going to start to speak lies in hypocrisy. They're going to be in hypocrisy, whether they saying one thing and they themselves are not doing it, or they're going to be portraying themselves, faking the funk before the people. Read on.
Having their conscience seared with a hot iron.
And their conscience, their mind is seared with a hot iron, meaning that they're locked in that thought now. They're not going to be able to come from out of it. They're seared now because why? They entertain sin. God said, I can't deal with you no more. Get that in Wisdom of Solomon 1 and 4. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 1, verse 4. The Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter time some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. Read that.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 4. For into a malicious soul wisdom shall not enter.
Read.
Nor dwell in a body that is subject unto sin.
That's it on that?
Yes, sir.
So a malicious spirit, the Lord gonna remove that. I mean, a malicious soul, the Lord will remove the Holy Spirit from you to where you won't comprehend. Now you're seared with a hot iron in the midst of your sin. You're given over to a reprobate mind. Go to John chapter 16, verse 1. So as these individuals who would depart from the faith at a latter time, giving heed to seducing spirits, they might think they still in the spirit. Watch this, read that.
The book of John, chapter 16, verse 1.
Read.
These things have I spoken unto you, that ye should not be offended. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh, that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth God's service.
So you're going to have people who are going to be faking a funk, act like they sincerely hear, but they entertain and sin, and they're going to be amongst us. And guess what? It's going to get to that point in time that those same people, remember, they never liked leadership in a position. That's why they was coming against Paul. They was coming against Christ. They came against Moses. They came against Aaron. They came against all the people that God set up to be leaders, Ezekiel, Jeremiah. Because why? They themselves, they think they straight. They think they the ones in the spirit. But they not. And they're going to be thinking they doing God's service when they coming for your life. And they already believe that way. It just haven't been made manifest yet. Read on.
Verse 3. And these things will they do unto you, because they have not known the Father,
Read.
nor me. But these things have I told you, that when the time shall come, ye may remember that I told you of them. And these things I said not unto you at the beginning, because I was with you.
All right, go to Hebrews 3 and 12. Hebrews 3 and 12.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 3, verse 12. Take heed, brethren, lest there be any of you, take heed, brethren, lest there be any of you an evil heart of unbelief, and departing from the living God.
So take heed, lest there be any of you of an evil heart of unbelief, and you start to depart from the living God. Take heed. Read.
But exhort one another daily, while it was called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin.
So take heed, because guess what? Sin is deceitful, and it can cause you to start to believe and think certain things, and you start to move thinking you in the spirit and you ain't. And you in the midst of sin, but yeah, that's why I say humble yourself. You know you in the midst of sin, hey, whatever's going on in your mind, know Satan is working there. Go to individuals where they lead us before the people, and counsel with them, reason with them, help them align your spirit right, because sin has got you jacked up. You ain't gonna be making the right moves. Read.
Verse 14.
Uh-huh.
For we are made partakers of Christ, if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast unto the end. While it is said, today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts, as ye in the provocation.
So harden not your hearts as in a provocation, as a time where we rebelled. Read on.
For some, when they have heard, did provoke.
Some they did hurt and they did provoke. Read.
Howbeit, not all that came out of Egypt by Moses.
Right, so that's what he's referring to. Harden not your hearts as in the day of provocation. For some, when they heard, they did provoke. Howbeit, not all came out of Egypt. So there's many different examples of God bringing judgment on the people of the children of Israel, because why? They was murmuring, they was complaining, they was doing all things that was contrary to how God had set up. But then these individuals, they was made to be examples, so we can read about it and know how to move in these last days. Go to 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 24. We're about to get to the conclusion of this thing. Watch this.
The book of 1 Timothy, chapter 5, verse 24. Some men's sins are open beforehand, going before to judgment.
So what is the judgment? That's talking about when Christ come on the scene. Some men's sins are open beforehand, going before to judgment, going before Christ come on the scene, meaning that you're going to see certain people's sins be revealed, meaning that that's what they're going to they're going to go back into the world in the midst of that sin, whether it's adultery, fornication, even being a betrayer, just like how Judas Iscariot was. Some people, we're going to see that. It's going to be revealed before that great day, and we're going to know that this is a sin that's going to be a judgment for them when Christ come on the scene. Read.
And some men, they follow after.
And then some men, guess what? They're going to be able to hide their sin and hold it until we see when Christ come on the scene and judgment's given, and you're going to say to yourself, damn, I thought that person was in the spirit the whole time. But they was in the back cut scenes committing adultery. They was always stealing. They was a liar. They was always being deceitful. Wow, that's crazy. They made themselves look like they was righteous in here. So some men, you're going to see their sins is going to be revealed before judgment. But then some men, their sins is going to follow after judgment, where you thought they was in the spirit the whole time and they wasn't. Read on.
Likewise, also the good works of some are manifest beforehand. And they that are otherwise cannot be hid.
Right. So likewise, how you have those who are in sin, and it's going to be revealed either before or after judgment. Likewise, too, when it comes to good works that are being put forth, you're going to have some individuals to where they see their good works will be seen before that day of judgment. They're going to be going hard on the radio shows, classes at camp, traveling, doing all these mighty works. You know what I'm saying? Sewing fringes, making garments, doing everything to help being able to build up the congregation of God in the right spirit. And you're going to see, like, damn, that person right there is in the spirit. But then there's going to be some individuals, they're going to be doing everything behind the scene where they won't be on that nobility like that. They won't be recognized before a lot of the people like that. But then when Christ come on the scene and he start to get those crowns, and then he give it to that one brother, like, oh, snap. Hey, all praises. This brother was in the spirit the whole time. His good works will be seen after judgment. So watch this. Go to 1 Corinthians 4 and 5.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 5. Therefore, judge nothing before the time, until the Lord come, who both will bring to light the hidden things of darkness and will make manifest the counsels of the heart.
And will make what?
And will make manifest the counsels of the heart.
Christ, when he come back on the scene, he's going to make manifest the counsels of the heart. Meaning that those that never mortified that adultery thought, but wish that they could do it, just never got the chance to do it, God is going to bring judgment. He's going to make manifest to show that this is how this person was thinking the whole time. That person that wanted to see leadership put to death, Christ's going to manifest in the when he come on the scene, he's going to manifest that this person was always thinking like that. They just wish they could have got to you and they didn't do it. They never mortified that thought. That's why we got to be very mindful to understand. If we reason in a certain way, we better stop right now. Christ is going to reveal that thing. You better kill it. Don't let none of those thoughts come into your mind. Suppress that thought. Kill it. Read on.
And then shall every man have praise of God.
So after that judgment, you're going to know who should have praise of God. Go to Ecclesiasticus, Sirach chapter 42, verse 17. Sirach chapter 42, verse 17.
The book of Sirach, chapter 42, verse 17. The Lord hath not given power to the saints to, the Lord hath not given power to the saints to declare all his marvelous works, which the Almighty Lord firmly settled. And whatsoever it might be established for his glory. He seeketh out the deep and the heart, and considereth their crafty devices.
He seeketh out the deep and the heart, and considereth their crafty devices. Read.
For the Lord knoweth all that may be known, and beholdeth the signs of the world.
And beholdeth the what?
The signs of the world.
Read on.
He declareth the things that are past, and for to come, and revealeth the steps of hidden things.
Read.
No thought escapeth him, neither any word is hidden from him.
No thought escapes from God. Neither any word that is hidden from him. Yeah, you got individuals, they might come together, they might start to murmur about leadership or complain, so forth and so on. Guess what? God hears every word of what you say. Your words, you have to be mindful. Things that come out of your mouth, God is going to take note of that. His angels are recording everything. Same thing likewise on what's going on in here. If you ain't trying to stop and suppress those thoughts, knowing that they're evil, because remember, we started the class off of Mark 7:21. Out of the heart of men proceed evil thoughts, adultery, fornication, murderers, covetous, thieves. If you ain't trying to suppress and stop those thoughts, God is understanding how you perceiving things. He understands what's going on up there. You better, as soon as those thoughts enter into your mind, stop them immediately. Go to Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 13.
Read.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Read.
Fear God and keep his commandments.
Read.
For this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment.
Read.
And every secret thing.
With what?
And every secret thing.
Read.
Whether it be good or whether it be evil.
Whether it be good or whether it be evil. So now this book is given to us with the intent that where we can learn to know, guess what? We deal with these thoughts. We see what happened in times past. We got to try our best to get right because we're trying to save our soul. Our soul is on the line, and we got to protect it at all costs. And understand that not everybody that's coming in is sincere, but just make sure that you're one of them. Because if you allowing these thoughts to take place, understand you're going to be judged at the end of it. Ain't no escaping God. And that goes for each and every one of us, including myself. I trust me, I'm examining to make sure myself that I'm good, that my mind frame don't allow to entertain these thoughts. That's what we all have to be able to have our mind frame to be like. Reading the scriptures, being around like-minded, godly individuals who ain't no complainer, who ain't no murmurer, who want to see other leadership in position and don't like leadership that's before them. Whatever the situation may be, stop with all the complaining. Trust God's program. This is God's work. God raised that man up to be before you. God raised that sister to be in that position. I hope we understand that. So with that, that's the end of the class. A brief class into the thoughts of the wicked that we may see. That you're going to have some people that's not going to reason right, but then guess what? They're going to be here and they're going to think that they okay. They're going to think that they thinking logically. How you think things like that happened during the time of Rome? People really believed that what they was thinking was right, but they didn't really fear God. They didn't believe in God like that. So because of their sins that they was entertaining, that they never overcame to, that they never succumbed to, that they was overcome by, they're causing them to move the way that they move. And that's what we have to deal with. We're dealing with Esau and we're dealing with the wicked of our people. When you read about Christ, Christ didn't really give a damn about Herod and Pilate like that. He didn't even barely responded to him. But who was he dealing with the majority of his time when he was starting to teach repentance? The scribes, the Pharisees, his own people that look just like him under the same bloodline. So what that means for us too as well. All right. So with that, appreciate y'all. All praise to the Most High. IUIC Houston in the building.
What is a nation? Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models.